Good morning, my viewers. I welcome you to another round of tutorial. In today's tutorial, we are going to look at a very interesting topic in mathematics known as fraction. Fraction is important because examiners like to ask questions from this topic. So if you are a student, I want you to pay attention to this tutorial, watch this video, subscribe to my channel, make sure that you follow all the steps that I'm going to take here. And I'm going to give you examples of some problems that examiners like to ask you in exam, and I'm going to show you how to solve those problems without stressing yourself. Alright, now when we talk about fraction, we mean a number in the form of a over b. Whenever you see a number in the form of a over b, that number can be called a fraction. But there is a condition which a fraction must meet before we can certify that number to be a fraction. For example, if we have 1 over 2, 1 over 2 is a fraction. But the condition here is that 2, which is the denominator or the lower part of this fraction, must not be equal to 0. So long as the lower part of that number is not equal to 0, that number becomes a fraction. So here I can say that 1 over 2 is a fraction because 2 is not equal to 0. So the general expression for fraction is a over b, where b is not equal to 0. So what I mean is that the lower part of every fraction must not be equal to 0. That is the condition. So if you have numbers like 1 over 3, this is a fraction because 3 is not equal to 0. 2 over 5 is also a fraction. 6 over 1 is also a fraction. 7 over 10 is also a fraction. But 7 over 0 is not a fraction because the denominator or the downside of it must not be equal to 0. Alright, so having said that, let me tell you other things you need to know about fraction. So if I have a over b as the general format for fraction, a means the numerator, that is the upper part of the fraction, is always called the numerator, while b means denominator. B means denominator. So in a fraction, we have the upper part and we have the lower part. While the upper part is called the numerator, the lower part is called denominator. Example, I have 3 over 5. In this fraction, 3 is the numerator because it is the upper part, while 5 is the denominator because it is the lower part. Alright, so the upper part of a fraction is called the numerator, while the lower part of every fraction is called denominator. We have 3 main types of fraction. The first one is called proper fraction. The first one is called proper fraction. The second one is called improper fraction. Improper fraction. While the third one is called mixed fraction. The third one is called mixed fraction. I'm going to explain all these one after the other. Now let me start from proper fraction. A proper fraction is a fraction in which the numerator, that is the upper part, is lower or lesser or smaller than the denominator. How do I mean? If I have 1 over 2, 3 over 5, 6 over 7, in these fractions, you will see clearly that the upper parts are smaller than the lower parts. 1 is smaller than 2, 3 is smaller than 5, 6 is smaller than 7. This type of fraction is called proper fraction. In other words, the value of this fraction is not equal to 1, it's not up to 1. That's another way you can define it. A fraction whose value is not up to 1 is known as proper fraction. 1 over 2 is 0.5. It's not up to 1. So that is a good example of proper fraction. A fraction whose numerator is lower or lesser or smaller than the denominator is known as proper fraction. Alright, let's go to improper fraction. Improper fraction is just the opposite of proper fraction. Okay? If we agree that proper fraction is a fraction whose upper part, numerator, is smaller than the lower part, which is denominator, that means improper fraction is a fraction in which the upper part is bigger or larger or greater than the lower part. Okay, so in improper fraction, you can just turn this upside down and say 2 over 1 because the upper part must be greater than the lower part in improper fraction. You can turn this one upside down and say 5 over 3, 7 over 6, just like that, 10 over 9, 11 over 10. The upper part must always be greater than the lower part. That is the one we call improper fraction. A fraction whose numerator is greater than its denominator is known as improper fraction. Also, we can define an improper fraction as a fraction whose value is greater than 1. Because here you can see that 2 divided by 1 is 2. It is greater than 1. So every fraction whose value is greater than 1 is known as improper fraction. While every fraction whose value is less than 1 is known as proper fraction. Don't forget this. So in improper fraction, the value is always greater than 1 because the numerator is higher than the denominator. While in proper fraction, the value is always less than 1 because the numerator is lesser than the denominator. Don't forget that. Now the last type of fraction we have here is called mixed fraction. Mixed fraction is a fraction that contains whole number and a proper fraction. A combination of whole number and a proper fraction will give us what is called mixed fraction. Example of mixed fraction is 2 whole number 1 over 4. Now here this 2 is called whole number, 2 whole number, while 1 over 4 is a proper fraction because the numerator is lesser than the denominator. So a combination of whole number and a proper fraction will give us what we call mixed fraction. Another example is 5 whole number 1 over 7 or 5 whole number 3 over 7, as the case may be. This is also a mixed fraction. Alright, so these are the 3 types of fractions we have. We have proper fraction, a fraction whose numerator is lesser than its denominator, or a fraction whose value is not equal to 1, it's not up to 1. Then we have another one known as improper fraction, which is a fraction whose numerator is greater than its denominator. Otherwise, it is also a fraction whose value is more than 1 or greater than 1. Then the last one, which we have considered now, is called mixed fraction, which is a combination of a whole number and a proper fraction, as you can see from this example on the board. Alright, now having told you the 3 types of fractions we have, I want to use this opportunity now to explain certain terms which we normally encounter when we are solving problems on fraction. You will meet these terms anytime you are solving problems involving fractions, so please pay attention. Let me clean this upper part so that we have space to write it. Now the 2 terms which I want you to understand are board mass. We have what we call board mass we have what we call LCM. So I'm going to explain these two terms one after the other. Now, board mass is just a way of solving problems following certain steps. Mathematicians have come up with this word, and each of the letters represent a step, each step that you are going to take in solving problems. For example, if you have a problem like this, 1 over 2 of bracket 3 over 5 times 1 over 7 divided by 3 over 10. For instance, you are given this type of problem to solve in mathematics. The word is simplify. The examiner will tell you to simplify this. Now you are going to use board mass to solve this. And what is this board mass? Board mass simply says that B is bracket. B stands for bracket. That means anywhere you see this type of problem, go straight to the one that has bracket to simplify first. That is why you see B first. B means bracket. Then O means of or times. So here you see of. After solving this in the bracket, you go to this place and solve this, which is of. And of means times. In mathematics, of means what? Times. Then the next one is D, which is division. So anywhere you see division here, you go and solve it. After of, you go to division. So you see that board mass tells you the steps you will take in order to solve simple problems. Then M means multiplication. A means addition, while S means subtraction. So these are the steps you must take in order to solve problems like this. Understood? Then we go to LCM. For example, if I have 3 over 4 plus 2 over 7, the only method you can use to simplify these two fractions is LCM. And what is LCM? LCM means lowest common multiple. Lowest common multiple. Now, if you look at the denominators of these two fractions, we have 4 and 7 as the denominators. You ask yourself, what is the LCM of 4 and 7? LCM of 4 and 7 is the nearest number which 4 and 7 will multiply to give you, such that both 4 and 7 can divide that number without remainder. Look at the number. 4 times 7 will give you what? 28. That means 28 is the nearest number which 4 and 7 can divide without leaving any remainder. And that automatically becomes the LCM, lowest common multiple. So if you want to solve this, you can say, you just draw your division line, you put that LCM 28. 28 divided by 4 is 7. 7 times 3 will give you 21, plus, you put your plus sign. 28 divided by 7 is 4. 4 times 2 will give you 8. So the answer to this will give you 29 over 28. See how it is done? Alright, we are going to look at all this. I'm just explaining certain things to you. So that is how to use LCM whenever two fractions are connected to each other by multiplication, by addition sign. Okay, the same way, we also use LCM when these two are connected with the subtraction sign. If we have 5 over 2 minus 1 over 3, just as similar as this one. The same way, because we have subtraction sign here, we also use LCM method. LCM of 2 and 3 is 6, because 2 multiplied by 3 will give you 6. That's the nearest multiple. So you have your 6 here. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15 minus 6 divided by 3 will give you 2. Okay, 2 times 1 will give you 2. So we have 15 minus 2 is 13 over 6. So we use LCM when two fractions are connected to each other by either addition sign or subtraction sign. Now, let me clean up this. If two fractions are connected to each other by multiplication and division, let's go here. If I have 5 over 2 times 6 over 15, for instance, how to simplify this is, remember this one now is multiplication, no longer subtraction or addition. I said if we deal with subtraction and addition, we use LCM. But now that we are dealing with multiplication, we are no longer going to take the LCM of 2 and 15. Rather, what we are going to do is to look for anything that can divide each other here. In fraction, we normally use the numerator, the upper part, to divide the lower part, or use the lower part to divide the upper part. Never you divide two denominators or two numerators. Never you do that. Okay, now you look out for numbers that can divide each other here. That is how to solve it when they are connected with multiplication sign. You see that 5 can divide 15. 5 divided 7 will give you 1. Then 5 divided 15 will give you 3. 2 also can divide 6. So 2 divided 7 will give you 1. Divide 6 will give you 3. Okay. Now, is there any other thing that can divide each other here? Yes. 3 can divide 3. 3 divide 3, 1. Divide this one, 1. Now, what is left? Nothing again is left apart from 1. You multiply 2. So use up to multiply up. 1 times 1 will give you 1. 1 times 1 will give you 1, of which 1 over 1 is the same thing as 1. So the answer to this is what? 1. That is how to simplify fractions whenever they are connected to each other by multiplication sign. Now let's go to division to see whenever they are connected by division sign. Let us see how we are going to solve it. If I have 5 over 2 divided by 6 over 15. This one is related to this one. Division is related to multiplication because you cannot simplify using this division sign. But what you will do is to remove this division sign, replace it with multiplication sign, then find the inverse of 6 over 5, which is 6 over 15, which is 15 over 6. So what do I mean? I have 5 over 2 divided by 6 over 15. If you want to solve it, you simply say 5 over 2, remove this division sign, replace it with multiplication sign, then turn this one upside down, which is 15 over 6. Now, the same thing you did here, you look for numbers that can divide each other. If you don't see any number that can divide each other, you simply multiply all the numerators and all the denominators. So here, nothing can divide. You cannot use this 5 to divide this 15 because 2 of them are numerators. They are up. And you cannot use this 2 to divide this 6 because 2 of them are denominators. Alright? So, in that case, there is nothing that can divide each other. What you now do is to multiply 2. Use 5 to multiply 15 and use 2 to multiply 6. So this is going to give you 75 over 2 times 6 or 6 times 2 will give you 12. Okay, that's the answer to that. Now, the reason why I'm explaining this thing is that we are going to encounter all these things when we are solving problems. Alright, so don't forget the relationship between fractions in division sign multiplication, addition, and subtraction. When they are connected by addition and subtraction, we use LCM. But when they are connected by multiplication, we divide. If we don't see anything that can divide, we multiply all through. All through means multiply all the numerators and multiply all the denominators, just as we did here. If they are connected by division sign, remove that division sign, replace it with the multiplication sign, and then find the inverse of the next fraction. That is, turn the next fraction upside down, just as we have just done here. Alright. Now, one more thing I have to explain to you before we can solve a simple problem. Let's go back to mixed fraction. In mixed fraction, I said that a mixed fraction is a combination of a whole number and a proper fraction. But you can convert a mixed fraction to improper fraction. For example, if I have two whole number, 1 over 4. For example, you can simplify this by saying this two whole number multiplied by the denominator, which is 4, then add this one to it. So it's going to be 2 times 4, which is 8. 8 plus 1 will give you 9 all over 4. See? This is how to reduce a mixed fraction to improper fraction. This is improper fraction because the numerator is greater than the denominator. Okay? You can also change this improper fraction back to mixed fraction by saying 9 divided by 4 will give you 2. That is 2 times 4 is 8. Remember 1. That 2 is the two whole number. Then remember 1 over 4. You see? So you can change from mixed fraction to improper fraction, from improper fraction back to mixed fraction. Alright, so having said that, and I believe you have understood what I have said. If you didn't understand anything, or if there is anything you didn't understand, please go to my comment section and drop your comment. And please remember to subscribe to my channel so that you'll be able to receive videos like this, because I promise you that I will cover all the topics, including further mathematics, so long as you subscribe to this channel. Alright, so now let us look at a simple problem, how to solve simple problem. I have a problem which a question, sorry, let me not call it a problem. That's a question which my student asked me, and I want to solve it together with you so that we'll be able to see how we can apply all those things I've taught you now. We are going to apply them in this question. The question says simplify 4 whole number 3 over 5 of, you open a bracket, 3 over 4 times 4 over 9 plus 15 whole number 1 over 2, then divided by 19 over 24, divided by 19 over 24. So this is what the question the student gave me. It's from JAMB. I don't know the year. So we are going to solve this using board mass. Remember I told you to use board mass. So using board mass, bracket first. So we are going to the bracket to simplify the bracket. After the bracket, we go to off. And remember I told you that off, if you start to solve the problem that has off, you remove that off and change it with multiplication sign. Okay, so here we have, remember how to change this fraction to improper fraction. 4 times 5 will give you 20. 20 plus 3 will give you 23 over 5. Off means times. I want you to remove that off and put times. Then open your bracket. We have 3 over 4 times 4 over 9. Then plus 15. 15 whole number. 1 over 2 can also be changed to improper fraction. 15 times 2 is 30. 30 plus 1 is 31. 1 over 2. then divided by 19 over 24. Don't forget, very important. Now, when two fractions are connected to each other by multiplication, remember you divide, look for things that can divide. I just explained it to you. 4 can divide 4 to give you 1. Divide 4 here to give you 1. 3 can divide 3 to give you 1. Divide 9 to give you 3. Okay? So we have 23 over 5 times, you still put your brackets. 1 times 1 is 1, all over 3 times 1 is 3, then plus 31 over 2 divided by 19 over 24. Alright, now finally we are going to open this bracket. We are still in bracket. So this is going to give you, we are going to take LCM now because we are connecting two fractions with plus, which I told you. So LCM of 2 and 3 will give you 6 because 2 times 3 is 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times 31 will give you 93. So we bring down our 23 over 5 times, still put it in brackets because we are not through yet. We are going to add 2 to 93 divided by 19 over 24. Alright, so let me clean this upper part. Let's continue. We are now going to add 2 to 93, and which will give us, we have 23 over 5 times, in this case now we are going to open the bracket. When you say 2 plus 93, it will give you 95 over 6, then divided by 19 over 24. So remember your board mass. After bracket, you go to off. We have done off. Then after off, the next thing is division. So we are going to division now. Let me clean this side. This will give you 23 over 5 times 95 over 6. Remember division sign, you remove it by putting this, then turn this one upside down. It's going to be 24 over 19. Don't forget that. Now, when they are connected to each other, all of them are connected to each other by multiplication sign. So we are going to divide. Look for things that can divide each other. Okay, now 6 will divide 6 to give you 1. Divide 24 to give you 4. Alright? Now 5 divide 5 to give you 1. Divide 95 to give you 19. 19 can divide 19 1. Divide this 19 to give you 1. So we are left with only 23 and 4, which cannot divide each other. So you bring down 23 times 4. Therefore, 23 times 4 will give you what? 23 times 4. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry 1. 4 times 4 is 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1, 9. So it's going to give you 92. That means 92 is our answer. Alright? So this is how to solve this simple problem. Alright? So I believe you understood me. But if you didn't understand me, please don't forget to ask me a question. You can call me. My number is 070 347 66395. You can engage me in any type of question in mathematics. Bring up questions, call me. My number is always available both on WhatsApp, or just go to my comment section, go to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, comment, ask any question you want to ask. And if there is any way you feel we can improve, I can improve on this training, please just make a suggestion. Remain blessed, study hard, and God will help us. Thank you.